to build sovereign European AI compute infrastructure. Please welcome on stage Markus Hacker from NVIDIA, Roseanne Kinsett-Smith from Norton Data Group, Daniel Abu from German AI Association, and Michael Bradley from NUA.
So, hello and thank you for attending our little chat for the next 30 minutes. My name is Daniel Abu, General Manager of the German AI Association. We represent like 460 startups and scale-ups from Germany with the focus on AI development. And I'm really happy to moderate this panel here at the World of the WeAreDevelopers conference. And thank you so much also to the organization of inviting us. And we're very happy to chat to you today about the important issue on how to build a sovereign AI compute infrastructure. Roseanne Kinsett-Smith is the CEO of the Northern Data Group. She is one of the driving forces behind Northern Data to ascend as one of the premier providers of high-performance computing. And of course, Roseanne drives the business strategy and has successfully overseen the global teams, and Roseanne's expertise extends to managing a comprehensive organizational transformation for Northern Data, but of course also for their clients. Michael Bradley is the CEO and founder of NUA Software. NUA Software is implementing state-of-the-art technology in the restaurant industry. They have a very quick, easy self-checkout solution for company restaurants. In Germany, we call them Kantine, but now they're called business or company restaurants that requires the latest technology in the field of artificial intelligence and computer vision. We will be very interesting to hear how AI is implemented in the Kantine. And someone who has also quite an extensive knowledge about the restaurant business, but now definitely in other ways, is Markus Hacker. He is the Regional Director Enterprises for NVIDIA in the so-called DACH region. The DACH region is the Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz. Since 2019, he leads the activities in Central Europe and encourages, of course, also his clients of adapting these products. He has an engineering background and he built a successful IT career at Microsoft, T-Systems and Akamai. So, guys, this is our topic today: how to build a sovereign AI compute infrastructure. I think it's always interesting to know why it's important. Why do we need a sovereign AI infrastructure in Europe? Perhaps, Roseanne, you can start with your preliminary thinking about that.
Luminary thinking, I like that. I think broadly for us as a business, and we are an infrastructure business, high-performance computing solutions has its foundations in the AI revolution. AI is full of promise, and I think we've heard a number of speakers mention about the sort of revolutionary steps that it is bringing to business as a whole, and as Michael will walk us through, just how it is advancing what we can get from society. But more broadly, everything from cybersecurity to medicine is being impacted by AI. But that then starts to ask a lot of questions: data privacy, sustainability, how we are investing, where we are investing, and making sure that all of that information is curated effectively to get the right outcomes. If we are not purposeful about how we implement that infrastructure, we will get the wrong results from AI.
Michael, in the sense of why is it important to have your European infrastructure in AI, could you tell us, because of your company, why it is important for you to adapt this?
Well, I would say that in the case of our company, it's a must-have. It's imperative that we have a local ecosystem here supplying our customers. The product we build, sure, it's a global product. It can be used in America, it can be used in China. But our customer base is very European related, and there are many, many stipulations about data security, all the regulations that to be found in Germany it's essential that the data that we store in our system is located on European soil, and that's where we partnered with Tiger Cloud.
If I may ask, Michael, in the sense of when you say the business restaurants and stuff like that, perhaps people will ask, why is data sensitivity in what I eat important?
The food on the tray is irrelevant, as long as they pay for it. Typically you will not just find food. There are plenty of non-food items, which are maybe less critical, like a person's employee card.
Yeah.
Not such a big issue.
Yeah.
But you could have documents and all sorts of data or all sorts of things on the tray which would violate the user's privacy if they were sent to the cloud unfiltered.
All right.
And stored in a foreign country.
Yeah, no, it's a very valid point you're making. Marcus, NVIDIA is a global company. That you can definitely say. So why is it important for a global company also to emphasize that Europe has its own sovereign AI infrastructure?
That's a very good question, and actually I just would need to repeat what Roseanne said and what Michael said, because they wrapped it already up pretty nicely, but to extend that a little bit from how we see it. So you're obviously right, we are a global company, but we think in local ecosystems. And we are very eager to support local ecosystems, so the ecosystem in the DACH region, the ecosystem in Germany, and for that we need local partnerships. We need organizations like Northern Data, or Tiger is their cloud brand, who invests in as we call it, AI factories. We can call it infrastructure for AI, but we actually call it AI factories, and in this, Roseanne called it the AI revolution, and I heard some other people who call it in a similar way. It's the fourth industrial revolution that we see here. And at the first time, we as human mankind, we have the capability to build factories that produce intelligence, so-called tokens, technically speaking, by putting data and electrons into such a factory and getting tokens, hence intelligence, out of that factory. And that's a pretty big step. And it's important to do that step, of course, globally, but also think locally, support local ecosystem, and also one of our key values globally is to democratize AI. So we are not looking that AI is a tool which is just in the hands of a couple of people or a couple of big companies. But we want to support that AI is being used by as many people as possible, and also as is used by smaller companies. And Nuasoft obviously is a startup company. And Michael summarized it for all that topics like data sovereignty, data protection, GDPR. He was looking for a local partner in the region, and we were able, by the partnership with Tiger and Northern Data, to offer that partnership. And basically, we want to let the customer choose. We have global partnerships with all the big cloud providers. That's good, that's important, and that's the global strategy. But in the end, the customer should and needs to decide on where he wants to go to. And for that, it's important to provide the choices. And we are pretty glad to have that partnership and are supporting that in many ways.
Roseanne, Marcus just spoke about local ecosystems. How important are local ecosystems for you at the Northern Data Group? And certainly also a question which belongs to that is, how can Europe remain competitive in AI? Because your firm is situated in London. I would say, I think that's no breaking news for anyone that the US and China are quite on the forefront of AI, but how can Europe make this, and what importance do local ecosystems have?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got this massive global race on with AI at the moment. And Marcus mentioned democratization, and that is a core ethos of our business too. And that goes hand in hand with local ecosystems. As a business, we have a responsibility to ensure that that access is granted, but not just the access, making sure that skills are provided, that we as a business encourage the right types of partnerships with the right type of customers, and we expand that ecosystem. If we don't take that accountability, AI will definitely take that swerve into being the purview of just the few. And so that local ecosystem, making sure that it's fit for purpose to that environment, that the skills are being developed, is what's going to help drive Europe forward and hopefully outpace the rest of the world, because certainly Europe has some of the brightest minds and some of the highest educational standards in the world. So the more we can embrace that to bring AI into the local ecosystems and use some of the high standards that Europe applies to businesses, the better for us.
Marcus, if I can back to you, what Roseanne just said, having a kind of European AI. So a good friend of mine once told me the sentence, if you ask ChatGPT a question, you get a Californian answer. So in this sense, I found it at least noteworthy to say this. But why is it important? Is it important about languages, cultures? Why do you think it's important to have that?
All of that what you just said is important. Languages matters because languages are actually culture.
Yeah.
In the end, it comes down to the data that models are being trained with. Those models are not self-confident beings or whatever, but it's an algorithm that is using basically later in inferencing the data which is being trained with. And of course, you can see probably which kind of data had been used to train which algorithm, and that's then influencing the answers that you get. And speaking of local ecosystems, speaking of local companies, we are quite proud to have a company like DeepL also in the region,
yeah.
whose, and you spoke about language and about culture, and DeepL's vision is to break down those language barriers by providing translation systems that can be used by everyone in a proper way, and they use AI basically to translate meanwhile 35, 40 languages into the other one, and are in neutral tests seen as the most accurate platform for that globally.
Michael, can I ask you about the competitiveness? So you're from Ireland originally, you're now situated in Munich, so you have also a European perspective on things. How do you see the AI infrastructure problematic in Europe, and how do you profit perhaps from a local ecosystem?
Well, an ecosystem consists of many components, starting with the GPUs, when we're talking about AI that NVIDIA provide, Taiga Cloud providing a platform for developers or companies, startups like me, but it also needs people. And I see a serious, when I compare where we are in Europe today with the likes of other global places like the States and China, I see a great deficit in the number of data scientists, engineers here that can really make this ecosystem come alive. And I would love to see European initiatives that help out small startups and educating our workforce here. You're totally right. We have some of the brightest minds in Europe, and we need to make Europe a force in AI, and this only happens with people.
So one of the things I realized in my position in the German AI Association is that when we have a call with our members and we talk to them, sometimes I call it group therapy, but in this case, we ask them, what are your biggest challenges? And as they are mostly startups and scale-ups, of course, financing is always place one. But the second thing they have really a challenge is the implementation of AI products in SMEs, in European or German SMEs. So what can you do as company and firms, besides selling the products, of helping German and European industry reap the benefits of AI? Where are the possibilities?
So, I mean, as we were saying, democratization is core to our ethos, and we share that as an ethos with NVIDIA and with our customers. Our right there is our accountability as a business. There's to make sure that we actually practice what we preach. And so when we say we democratize access, we actually have a program that we run at our business. It's called the AI Accelerator. We invite companies who do not have access to the kinds of capital that is required to operate on H100s, for instance. And for them to pitch that idea to us, we then give them access free of charge to our hardware to allow them to develop that proof of concept. We also provide coaching for them, mentorship, including opportunities to raise capital, including investment from us. Because, as I said, and as Michael and everybody has underscored, that we need to make sure that we are providing substance to the ecosystem, and skills is definitely the path to that. And so the least we can do is to provide that access to the hardware.
Marcus, how do you see the possibilities, and where can you help the European or AI industry about AI? Because selling the product is one thing, but implementing is, I think, definitely another.
Yeah. I fully agree, and the famous German Mittelstand is actually the backbone of our economy. That's something which we need to explain often globally, because this way how the German economy works is pretty unique. That is not the same in the US, that is not the same in other countries, but that's very specific in Germany. And that's kind of how should I say, evangelism almost, that we need to do with our global organizations. Say, listen, this is an important part of the German economy, and we need to help them, and we need to make sure that they have the ability to adopt AI. And Michael just made a very good point. It's about people. It's about people. It's about talent. And talent in AI, they are looking for places where they can do their work. And data scientists, they need proper infrastructure. They need the access to compute, to proper compute, to train the models, to inference the models, to fine-tune them. And therefore, it's also important to give them opportunities locally where they can access compute and do their work. And that's one thing. Another thing that is important, which is also deeply in the DNA of NVIDIA, we are very eager to engage with developers. That's why we are here. That's why we have a booth here. I can just encourage everyone to come to our booth at Hall 2.2. We, for example, do courses to refine the skills of programmers in terms of AI. There's different courses in computer vision, in building different AI platforms. And it's all about people, and it's all about talent. And hence the transport of knowledge into the community of developers is another thing where we put a very high emphasis to and want to support the local ecosystem also with that efforts.
And Marcus is forgetting that in Europe we tend to be a little bit more skeptical of everything, and particularly the Germans.
Yeah, but Roseanne, exactly to your point, the skeptical thing. So, when we talk to our companies, and what is the problematics between you connecting to SMEs? And I think the picture that it's just my personal opinion, but you have on the one side the 65-year-old family SME owner, from Swabia or from Bavaria, who lives like for 40 years in his data silo. On the other hand, you have the 25-year-old AI entrepreneur from Berlin-Kreuzberg, who says to the 65-year-old, well, should do data sharing with your competitors. That we should do in a cloud system, and then we can perhaps develop an AI project. And when the 65-year-old hears that he should do data sharing with his competitors, he's out. So what kind of isn't it also a kind of, I would like to say, generational problem with handling of data?
I mean, I was recently attended a dinner where people were sort of talking about the priorities between AI and politics. So what's being discussed at your boardroom table at the moment? And almost without exception, people were talking about AI and not about pending elections, which I thought was quite interesting because they kind of go hand in hand. But that does show generational gap, because actually what's front and center for the majority of younger people is, well, one, what is AI going to mean for me in the future? For older people, you're like, does that mean that it's going to impact my business, impact my job? Where does the longevity of that sit? And that goes back to my comment about us being quite skeptical about what how it will impact us. So it's in the nature of us, certainly I think, to look at the negative side, in contrast maybe to the North Americans, where everything is an opportunity. So we've tended to focus onto those sort of narrow things, and it's why I think we are seeing the gaps emerge on skills and the sort of like gaps in the ecosystem, because there's too much cynicism around it, because we think the impact will be negative. And as I mentioned to you guys outside, so people tend to be scared of AI, but it's no competition for natural human stupidity. So I think we're going to be okay if we learn to use it the right way.
One question for the group is that, and exactly what you say, the skepticism and stuff like that, but isn't the problem also in the skepticism that the discussion about AI is like in extremes? You have the tech bubble who says, I overemphasize my point, it's the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and the contrapoint is that AI is the Terminator's worst thing that ever happens. Isn't it time to demystify AI, to make it about concrete products, which Michael is doing, and things like that?
100% agreed. And Michael's offering, or the offering of his company, is a perfect example, because it really solves an accurate and an actual problem. Yeah. All those operators of those canteens, of those business restaurants, they simply don't find people who do the checkout anymore. And you know, so people have the choice of using the AI for checkout or don't get lunch. What do you prefer? Do you want to get lunch, or do you want to use the AI checkout system? It's about making use cases that are touchable for people. I see the same like controversy discussions that you just mentioned, Daniel. And I think the only way to get rid of that step by step, and that will take a while, and it will be a journey for all of us in this industry. We need to take people with us on the journey. We need to explain, and we need to make it judgeable. That's the levers that we need to pull to get rid of this very controversial discussions that we have.
How do you convince a skeptical canteen owner to adapt something which is normally something very manual? People are cooking, people are getting their food, they're eating. How do you convince them of doing AI, to do generalization and doing it automatically? How can you convince them?
It depends on the stakeholder.
Yeah.
So, for example, the owner of the canteen, he's trying to solve a problem that he wants to sell food, but nobody wants to man the cashier. And then you've got the Betriebsleiter, so the person responsible for the restaurant. You have to make their job simple. You cannot overcomplicate matters. It has to be as simple as I take an image of the food on the day, AI goes away, does its thing, 5 minutes later, they're ready for service. It has to be that simple. The only thing in pre-sales, which is always an issue, is you have to take away the fear.
Yeah.
The fear, where's my data landing? I don't want to harp on data, but data is, and it depends always on the size of the company you're operating with. There are regulations in place, and you have to take away that fear that, for example, if a customer wants on-premise inferencing, we give it to them, because they don't want to take the risk that the data is landing on some cloud in some location, yeah, where they have no control over. So it's about flexibility and taking away fear. I don't know what else I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the challenges that we realized, especially in data infrastructure for AI, also with project that we did, is that one is the convincing the SMEs, but also big companies. As I think before ChatGPT it was even worse. So thankfully this certainly gave the discussion some momentum. But how can we see, especially in a time where some economic indicators are not that good, to invest in this kind of data infrastructure? Because they are saying, hey, we don't know where the world is in 5 years. Why should we invest in this kind of cases?
I mean, I've actually I've had a number of panels sort of about investment in AI, and we can say that about everything. We won't know where the world will be in 5 years' time. But the opportunity that AI represents, certainly to me, and from an investment standpoint, is the opportunity to shape that future, to develop the technologies in the right way to bring value to all the right ecosystems. To your point, take out the fear, make it really simple about how this will improve your life and invest behind that. That's where I see the opportunity.
Yeah.
But I would like to turn it around also in a positive way a little bit, Daniel. I think you guys from KI Bundesverband play an important role in that, a very important role in that whole journey to convince people to make it more a normal technology that simplifies our daily lives, that solves problems in our daily life, that solves some of the hardest problems that we have in human mankind. I mean, we still develop pharmaceuticals, not from a technology point of view, that's very modern, but from a structured approach, pharmaceuticals are still developed like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
The systematic is still the same. So using AI to develop pharmaceuticals, drugs for especially rare diseases, is something which can solve some of the biggest problems that we have in human mankind.
Yeah. But it can't happen only in a tech bubble. So just that you know, we have a project running, it's called LEAM, Large European AI Models, which is trying to get the people and the SMEs to get data center time that they can do their models. And we're not talking about GPT-5, 6, 7, or 8 and something like that, but specialized model, which is adaptable for SMEs, which is adaptable for smaller solutions. And exactly what you're saying is that we have AI can help. It is not the question. It's not the answer to everything. It's certainly not. But I think that especially in the time where we have a skilled worker shortage, in the time where we have so. Can you tell us the example that you say about the Lokführer at the moment or in other areas where we simply don't have the human resources anymore to do the things we are used to do in the current time?
I mean, you just said it. It's something that Deutsche Bahn is also dealing very, very openly with, that they miss like 5,000 train drivers currently. Yeah. And the structure of age of this workforce is in a way that you can clearly forecast how many people will are going to retire in the next 10 years. Yeah. And that will make the problem huge. So in 10 years, we will have just 50% of the train drivers that we would need to operate trains. Yeah. So we need to invest into create self-driving trains, otherwise probably our transportation system will cut.
And the train drivers aren't late, they're simply not there.
Exactly. Then no one will be unhappy about 10 minutes delay because the trains will simply not go without a driver if you don't have autonomous trains.
Then let me hit me on one point is the question, of course, of AI and energy consumption and sustainability. So let's say this is also very, how can I say, emphatic discussions that they say AI is the most waste of energy that you have, and how can we or you at the Northern Data Group solve this kind of issue that AI needs energy and energy consumption?
I mean, the world is incredibly energy hungry at the moment, and the introduction of AI and all of these AI factories has driven up that demand for consumption significantly. We're talking doubling up on the amount of power that is required for data centers in the next 48 months. So from 17 gigawatts to 35 gigawatts in the space of 48 months. That is an enormous impact on all of the energy grids and all of the energy consumption and sources that we have today. And never mind the potential impact from residual heat, as well as from waste that surrounds that. So for us as a business, we've taken a very, very specific stance on one of the reasons we partner with NVIDIA is because it is some of the best hardware out there. It's extremely energy efficient, and it's also direct-to-chip liquid cooled. That means it's compliant with our data center environments. It has low heat.
Yeah, you're here.
Oh yeah, I can't hear myself. And we also position our data centers in places where we have full renewable energy sources. And one of the things that's really important for us to be able to offer to our customers is that carbon-free environment. That way, we will be able to have the benefits of AI without the impact on the environment.
Roseanne Kincaid-Smith, Michael Bradley, Marcus Hacker, thank you so much for the discussion. Thank you for the exclusive audience here, for your attention. My name is Daniel Abu. I wish you a very pleasant day at the conference, and goodbye.
Daniel, thank you so much for hosting us.
Of course.
Thank you, Roseanne. Oh, still alive.
Okay, thank you very much. So stay tuned for our next session, the neuroarchitecture of productivity, how work environments impact cognitive performance. 10 minutes.